welcome back to Golf with Jen. So today I had a very exciting round to share with you guys because this is a golf course that I've actually played before. So this golf course is called Langdon Farms Golf Club and it's located here in Portland, Oregon. So like I just said, I've actually played this golf course before. It was actually the site of my first actual college tournament. So when I came into college, our first tournament was a home tournament. So this was our first travel tournament. And when we came and played over here, I swear we had the weirdest weather ever. And I had never experienced anything like that in my life. I believe it was a typhoon, but don't take my word for it. That was what everybody was telling me. It was some terrible winds, raining, and apparently it's normal here in Portland. We came to this tournament almost every single year, so coming back here about 4 years later, it was so interesting to be able to play the same course again. In fact, today I'm playing from a further back tee than I think we played in college because I'm playing from the tips. But there's something that I noticed that I wanted to talk about with you guys because I think that it's such a common phenomenon, and if you've read the title of the video, obviously you're going to know what I'm talking about. But we are going to dive more into this topic as the video progresses. Here's my forewarning that I do not know what my voice is going to sound like by the end of this video. I'm going to try to record as much as I can, but I am currently losing my voice. So if you're wondering why I sound so weird, that is why. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel because it really helps support my YouTube journey.
See, one of the benefits of playing the back tee sometimes is that you don't end up reaching the bunkers, whereas if I were to play from the front tees, those bunkers will be in play, and I probably won't hit a driver, and I probably end up in the same space that I'm going to end up right now.
So even though I'm playing from a different tee box than what I played in college, I think it was so interesting because stepping onto the hole and seeing from the perspective of the tee box, I could even tell what I was thinking when I was in college. I could remember having a fear of hitting towards a certain place. For instance, on the first hole, the tee shot, even though it does not seem that narrow, it does get a little bit more narrow when you see that the right hand side is OB and the left hand side is trees as well. And it's not playable trees. You know that if you hit it in there, you are dead meat. Internally, that's a little bit of a fear. Obviously, when you see an OB or you see a hazard, we all tend to tighten up a little bit because we all have that fear of obviously not wanting to hit OB or hit it in the hazard or hit it into a bad position. But I think it's funny how sometimes we might not even realize how this is negatively affecting our game. There's no denying that there's going to be a little bit of an element of fear. However, how is this actually affecting your game? Have you ever thought about this? Have you ever actually realized how fearful you are hitting certain shots? I think this element of fear appears differently in everybody. So as an individual, you need to analyze where your fear comes from. Some people might have a fear of hitting holes where there are hazards on the left side because they tend to hit a hook, or some people might be vice versa. That is having a fear based on your misses. So you probably had an experience where you saw water on the left side and you said you didn't want to go into the water hazard, and what happens? You hook it right into the water hazard. So in a certain sense, that is almost like a little bit of a sensible fear, something that you are reacting to because of a previous experience that you've had. However, I think that there is another kind of fear, and this is a fear that I actually had when I was younger, and in the moment in time, I might not have realized this, but you're not always going to be performing at your best every single time you step out on the golf course. Me being a perfectionist, I had a fear of failure. So seeing a hole, I got so scared of hitting it into bad positions because I did not want to fail. And I know that if I hit it into a bad position, it's increasing the chances of me failing. I immediately tensed up and I looked at the course in a different way. I didn't look at where I wanted to hit the ball. I looked at where I didn't want to hit the ball. I looked at where the misses were and I would guide the ball into the opposite direction of where it would miss. I think it's actually pretty amazing how I played amateur golf this way. Even to this day, obviously there's going to be days where I don't feel good and I'm going to have a little bit of fear element in my body or in my head. However, I think that there are ways that you can overcome this. Like I said before, we are all going to be a little bit afraid all the time, and being afraid is good because being afraid means that you care. If you did not care, you would not care what happens with your ball. So I think that one of the most important things is finding out why you are afraid. Like they say, when you have a problem, the first step is to acknowledge that problem and to see where the source is coming from. So some people are afraid because, like I said, previous experience has told them that, hey, if you hit a bad shot, you're gonna go there. And what happens then is that they think of the bad shot and they think of what they don't want to do. So what happens with that is usually either you are going to hit exactly the shot that you did not want to hit, or you're going to do the complete opposite because you are guiding your body to do whatever it takes just to make sure you do not go into whichever direction that the hazard is or the OB is that you just don't want to hit it there. So I think it's easier said than done, but one of the things that can help with this is to try and give yourself a clean slate every time you walk onto the golf course. Even if you've played the golf course a million times, don't think about all the bad places that you've been in the golf course. Think about all the good places if you want to have a memory of the golf course. If not, just start it over as a clean slate. Attack the golf course shot by shot. It doesn't matter where you have been. Today is a brand new day. We all know that with golf, we're not going to hit two same shots, shot after shot, day after day. It's always going to change. So we know that there's always going to be an element of change. Just because you hit it into the OB left yesterday does not mean that you are going to hit it into the OB left today. And focusing on that shot that you hit into the OB left yesterday is giving yourself a mental image of what you do not want to do. And if you keep thinking about that and putting that image in your head, what's going to happen is you're going to hit the exact same shot that you hit yesterday, or you're going to be so afraid that you're going to do the complete opposite. I think a lot of our bad shots comes from the fear of failure. So what I think is funny is that stepping onto a golf course that you've been on before, I don't know if this is true for everybody, but I have a pretty good recollection of golf courses that I've played. I might not know hole by hole in the correct order, but I kind of know if I've played a golf course before. So it's interesting to be able to almost feel the tension that I felt when I was playing tournaments on this golf course. I think that, like I said before, tension is good. Tension is important because tension is a part of caring and is part of the process. Learning how to manage that tension is important as well because a little bit of tension is good. Too much tension, however, can really negatively impact your golf game because it's going to negatively impact your golf swing. So I think you can get it by now that what I'm trying to say is that fear is really the biggest factor that is causing tension in your golf swing. So I think one of the important things to think about is why are we fearful? What is making us scared? And I think the biggest thing, based on my experience, it's focusing too much on the score rather than the process. Because when we're focusing on the score, we are so focused on the outcome. We don't want to have a bad outcome. Nobody goes out there and wants to shoot the worst score of the day. Especially when you're in a tournament, the stakes get higher and you're thinking about score. When you think about score, there's no way that you're going to succeed because a score isn't the only way to determine whether you've had a successful day or a bad day on the golf course. Sure, every now and then a score is going to determine whether you win a trophy or not. However, you can have the best day of your life on the golf course, but somebody might have an even better day and still win. You might shoot 59 and somebody might shoot 58 and you still lost the tournament. Are you going to say that you had a failed day because you shot a 59 and somebody else shot a 58? Definitely not. I think a big important element is that we cannot control other people. The only thing we can control is ourselves. When we are thinking about failure on a golf course, what we're really thinking about is, I do not want to shoot this whatever X score because number one, it's going to be embarrassing. And number two, I want to portray myself as a good golfer. I don't want to post a bad score out there for everybody to see. At the end of the day, if you want to perform your best, the only person that you need to convince is yourself. Being fearful is okay. However, knowing and acknowledging that fear and then moving on and focusing on what you actually need to focus on is the right step to success. Another thing that I want you to think about is, are you afraid of failure because you're afraid of other people's opinions? If you thought about what I just said just now, a lot of the elements of why you feel like you failed is because you care too much about other people's opinion of you. For instance, if you post a bad score or if you don't win, etc., etc. Are you really unsatisfied with posting a bad score, or are you unsatisfied with posting that bad score because you know that other people are going to see it? Think about this for a second and think about why you are afraid of failure. So I hope this gives you something to think about. Think about why you are so afraid of failure, or why you're so afraid in general. When you think about it from a larger perspective, yes, golf is such a hard game. You need to try and hit this little tiny ball into this little tiny hole. But think about this from this other perspective. Look at how much grass there is out there, and look at how small that ball is. You have so much grass for you to be able to get on. So when you're thinking about that small hazard or bunker or whatever that you're trying to avoid, think about how much grass there actually is compared to what you're trying to avoid. A lot of times, the biggest element that's holding us back from achieving our best possible score is actually ourselves, because it's in our heads. We're overthinking it, we're afraid of failure, we're afraid of what other people think. When at the end of the day, the more you let go of that, the more you focus on what you need to focus on, the better you're going to play. The scores are going to come naturally, you're going to have more fun, which in turn is also going to help you loosen up. It's going to release the tension in your body. When you have more fun and when you're not stressed and not pressured and not caring about what other people are thinking, you're just generally having a better time on the golf course, which is 100% going to translate into a better score. I can't tell you a person that's going to play better when they're tense versus when they're relaxed. Like I said just now, there's obviously going to be a little bit of tension. When you play tournament golf, there is going to be tension. Focus is tension. However, there's a difference between good tension and bad tension. People like Tiger Woods are intense, yes, but they're not tensed up in their body. They're intense in their head. You might look at them and they might look intense, but inside their head, they could be singing a lullaby. You have no idea what's actually going on through people's heads. And I think at the end of the day, all you need to do is focus on yourself, because everybody else is struggling with their own problems. Nobody is actually looking at you. Release the fear of being judged. Release the fear of everything that you are so afraid of. And that is going to help you release the tension in your body, which in turn is going to help you swing better swings, play better golf, and in turn return with better scores and be a happier person.
Bye.